Hello and welcome. I'm Kate.
And I'm Emily, and this is Beyond the Neurotype,
A podcast that explores what it's like to be human affirming, regardless of labels, considerate of every person's individual needs, and allowing us to, ideally, understand what is behind every individual's actions, choices, and needs.
We do this with curiosity and love as we explore these individual and unique experiences that are rich with challenges, growth, and grace.
I'm Kate, a mental health social worker and synergetic play therapist. I'm the co-founder of the Village Therapy Hub. I'm a mum to 2 adolescents, and I love understanding and exploring what is happening beneath the surface for children and adults, and what behaviours are communicating to us. But let me keep it real. Much like yours, my life is a roller coaster. So I also understand the complexities of being a carer, the challenges of the day-to-day, and I won't pretend it's all enjoyable.
I'm Emily, a neurodivergent mum to a beautiful autistic girl and wife to a wonderful autistic man. I'm passionate about celebrating neurodiversity and creating a community where people are seen, held, and loved for who they truly are. It is my hope that as you listen to the stories of our beautiful guests, you feel inspired, validated, and supported in your journey.
This podcast is recorded on the land of the Dja Dja Wurrung people. We offer our heartfelt gratitude to the traditional custodians and elders, past, present, and emerging, for continued opportunities to learn, reflect, and grow. Hello, welcome. Hello, Emily.
Hey, Kate.
So we have reached the end of season 1. Oh my gosh, can you believe it? 5 incredible conversations. And what we plan to do now is just a final wrap on the season is have a conversation that's a bit more global about each of our guests, our biggest takeaways, and reflections on our own learnings through the process of creating the very first season of our very first podcast, because boy, oh boy, we've learned a lot along the way.
It's been such a huge experience, that first month of when we recorded a bulk of these interviews, and we were recording every day, and it was just like, wow. The only way we've been able to describe it accurately is that we've just been cracked open, and just a huge life-altering experience for the two of us.
And a huge amount of gratitude to the people that trusted us to be in our first season. These people recorded with us. As you said, we did the bulk of them in a month before launching. So these 5 people trusted us, took a risk by agreeing to record with us before they knew what it was all going to look like and feel like, and before any of it was out in the world. And we're incredibly grateful for that. It's really humbling to think that people were willing to trust us and take a chance on us.
Yeah.
And that's
it's so vulnerable.
Yeah, so vulnerable. And yes, all the conversations so open in their sharing. These people just did not hold back. They shared whatever felt right for them in the moment. Our conversations are not scripted, and we don't have a plan. So the people that come on and share with us, we are just following the flow of the conversation wherever it goes, and often ended these conversations with a, whoa, wasn't expecting that. Like, wow, how'd we end up there? So incredible that these people wanted to come and share so much of themselves. And we're, so honoured by that vulnerability.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Big thank you. And I think we've learned a lot of lessons along the way, not only about technology and uploading to social media and just so many background pieces. Thank you to Emily, who was willing to learn about editing and
Well,
uploading.
and thanks to my 10-year-old, who's helped me quite a bit along the way.
You got to use the resources that we have. And we've learned about even conducting a podcast. I don't think either of us really had experience with having these types of conversations before, and other than just in our lives with our friends. So this was an incredible opportunity to push ourselves into new learning.
Yeah.
And it's been really humbling to learn probably some trickier lessons for ourselves as well. I've certainly really struggled with the realization that I am working pretty hard to honor everybody's needs at all times, and that is not possible a lot of the time, probably, in that people might have various perspectives and opinions, and I can't. If my only concern is how to help all of them feel valid and valuable, then I can't be successful in that. So somewhere along the way, I have to actually also notice what I feel and think and honor that as highly as I honor everybody else.
It can be a really tricky balance of, trying to, hold the people that we know are listening and kind of try and predict how they might be feeling when we talk about certain things, and and approach certain topics, or that, oh, well, if this person says this, then this person over here is going to feel this, and so we've got to then, soften it for them, or it's a tricky, and that has been one thing, because we so desperately don't want to do anything to, that's going to upset or be, we
Love that.
desperately don't want to do something that's inconsiderate to the people that are listening. And we want to be really thoughtful about what we're offering out there. So,
Yeah, and when you're putting it out there to people you can't see and have no perception of, like we don't know who's listening, we are running around in our minds, or I am thinking about all the different ways that everything I'm saying could be interpreted and trying to make sure I don't offend anybody, because I can be clunky and I often muddle across things, and that's okay. Like, I think that's actually a really interesting and quirky part of me, but it can be clunky sometimes, and giving ourselves permission to be clunky and fuddle our way through this a little bit has been a really important piece.
and I really hope that our intention comes across, and that
Yeah.
if something brings up feelings, know that it's not our intention ever to make anyone feel badly when they hear something, or feel judged, or like, oh, you should be doing this. It's not a prescription on how to live your life, or, we're just offering, bits that we love and hope that they can find, a place, some part of it, that you can use in your life. And if not, then move on to the next.
Yeah.
We were talking in our reflection in our previous episode about, the social media posts that you had this very visceral reaction to about opportunities, and that person shouldn't necessarily stop posting about embracing opportunities because you, Kate, over in Australia, is having a
And a
really
little
strong
bit of a triggering response to that. Like, that's my piece, not theirs.
yeah. So yeah, that's definitely something to learn because, yeah, we both are doing this, trying to be very considerate of our listeners and because we're touching on such vulnerable topics, you know, we talk a lot about parenting and children and things like that. And so um, it's been a tricky balance. I've found it trickier than I expected to kind of know what to say or not say. Yeah, but
Yeah. And we've loved the spread of sharing and information that we've had so far over these 5 conversations because each have had their own depth and vulnerability and something for to leave everyone thinking about, I feel. And that's, I guess, a good lead in to what we're hoping to do now is talk about what were the biggest things that have stayed with us throughout the season.
yeah,
First up,
we
we have
actually,
Mike, which is pretty incredible.
yay. Yeah, it was lovely to have Mike. And he shared so beautifully. Mike's like not one to really talk a huge amount about this kind of stuff. So I was really happy that yeah, he shared so honestly. And yeah, the biggest thing I got from that conversation was I suppose the positive change that's come about in our relationship when looking at each other and our behaviours with curiosity rather than judgment.
It's a big one, isn't it? And it sits in like lots of relationships, not just marriages or, romantic relationships, but all the relationships that we have in our life. We can get a bit stuck in expectation, maybe, and start to think we really know someone and therefore have a judgment about or a prediction about how they're going to react or what they're going to need. And if we think about the bigger piece that's come out through this whole season, which is that people are ever changing and shifting and growing, then allowing space for growth, it's pretty incredibly important.
Yeah. Yeah, and for me now it's kind of I suppose now my mindset's shifted a lot more towards the curiosity rather than the judgment in all of my relationships. For me now, my struggle is like finding a line and not talking about my relationship with Mike necessarily, but other relationships, like because I'm looking at their behavior with curiosity, I'm kind of understanding the why behind the behavior, but then I find it almost harder to like put in a line for myself, like because I understand and can empathize where the behavior is coming from. And so, yeah, now it's like finding, yeah, well, that's okay. I can understand why they're doing that, but is that something that serves me and I need?
That's really interesting. So it's like the curiosity can almost build so much empathy that you can almost be willing to accept behaviors that are actually not okay for you. And
Yes.
that beforehand you would have just like shut that down and gone, you're acting like a dick, I'm not interested. Now it's like I can see the behavior, I have an understanding about it, so I have an empathy towards it. So now I have to make a really conscious choice about even knowing and feeling empathy for that. That might still not be a behavior I'm willing to engage with.
Mm,
That's
yeah.
really interesting because I think
That's
that's
my
really
piece at the
valid.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really, yeah, what I'm struggling with now.
Because
And
actually what that requires now is much more consciousness of you. Because
mm,
before, when you didn't understand and didn't care why people were behaving, you could just shut things off because that's not appropriate behavior. That's not okay. You're being mean, blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
Now it's like I can see the whole image, and now I need to take that information into me think about how I feel, who I am as a human, what I want to engage with, what I have the energy for, blah, 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 and then make a decision. And it's so much easier when you can just say, like, no, you're just being awful. Goodbye.
Yeah. 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 I can see, oh, that person's really stressed or under the pump or whatever. I can see why, they've got a lot on their plate. I can see why their fuse is short. However, that doesn't mean that it's okay to take that out on me.
And me understanding and knowing that doesn't make it my problem, so I don't have to take it on and fix it. Wow, Kate, that's a very good lesson for you to learn.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a fixer. Like I want to get in there and fix it and take some things off their plate and but that doesn't necessarily always serve me.
No, and we're talking about adults here, really. Adults need to be in their own state of readiness. So we can jump in and attempt to support people however you like. But if they're not on board with that or needing that or asking for that, then it's completely invalid.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Thanks, Mike.
Started off strong.
Yeah, he doesn't even listen, so we could really say what we want.
Oh, well, I mean,
people ask him questions like, "Oh, this came up in Em's podcast yesterday," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I haven't listened to it yet."
well, maybe this podcast doesn't serve him. I mean, we're not for everybody, and he can, if he at any point listens, Mike, welcome. We love having you here, and you're welcome to come in and out however you please. But if also you're listening and thinking, I don't know why I've bothered, that's okay too. We're not for everyone.
I think he just needs a break from me if he's going to be watching something that's going to not be me.
Enough. Like, why would I play her in my ear when she's
she's already in the other one.
Oh, I like that.
No, thank you, Mike.
Right, then we had Shani.
Yeah, that was such a cool episode. I've had so many people contact me saying they've sent it to their school. Such a great example of being a teacher because, one thing we really don't want to come across as judgmental of teachers. Speaking of trying to hold everyone. So to have it from the perspective of a teacher who is also neurodivergent herself, such a cool perspective.
Yeah. And there's been two bits that have really stayed with me, and they were that treating everyone in the classroom as if they're neurodivergent and global accommodations for everybody. And I've got to say that since that episode, I'm probably more acutely aware when I visit schools about the impact that global accommodations would have on teachers. Like I'm watching teachers really struggle to maintain classrooms where there's a splattering of children who need accommodations, and they're trying so hard to manage all of those individual needs. But when you've got to remember that, we're going to assembly so Johnny needs his headphones, and we're going to music so this person doesn't come and they need to stay behind, or that person's arrived in the morning and they need time to do colouring before they enter the classroom, and that one, I can barely hold the needs of my children. I only have two of them. How could you possibly hold the needs of multiple children in your classroom and then also try and run this kind of standard way of doing things for the rest? Like, it would be exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just really reinforced for me that systemic change is what's needed, and at department level flowing down to school level to then support teachers in to have the scaffolding there in order to implement some of this kind of stuff. But yeah, just some really simple ways of reframing how you look at something and switching from, I suppose, that compliance to that connection as well. But yeah, totally feel for teachers in how hard the juggle is. And yeah, but it's just such a radical idea almost that we just offer the supports to everyone, but that it's so simple and it just makes so much sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that I've definitely this year seen some shifts in the perspective of the Department of Education in terms of there are so many kids now that are struggling with school can't and that are really anxious and presenting as really anxious at school that I do think the Department of Ed is starting to pay some attention. They definitely funded, new staff in schools to be mental health support. They're increasing the level of mental health support they're offering. I actually had a really great meeting at a school a few weeks ago where they talked about the Department of Ed's perception is changing around needing shortened days or altered timetables, that there used to be a lot of pressure on schools to get kids there full time, and that now there's been a realization from higher up that a lot of kids need altered timetables, and there's more permission for schools to be able to do that and not be getting questioned about why isn't that kid here more, all of that, which is massive. It seems like such a small shift and such a sensible shift, but that's huge because the impact that used to have on kids when they needed to reduce their timetable to be able to manage school, and then the school would start almost immediately saying, okay, cool, so they're doing better, let's see when we can up the hours, and the parents and everyone around that child is going, what, why? And everyone thought the school didn't care. And I'm going to be really generous here and say that probably a lot of the time the school really did care and really got it, but they were getting pressure from higher above to make sure their kids are all at school full time. So one simple thing like that, less pressure from higher up, is going to mean that schools can feel like they can feel more into what their kids need and offer reduced timetables if that's what a child needs.
On a reduced timetable is so much better than not attending at all. And, and then withdrawing from the system altogether, the data may not capture for that particular school when the kid's gone, I just can't do this anymore, and they've had to withdraw from traditional schooling completely. So, to me, on paper, would look so much better if that there were more kids with altered timetables than kids not attending at all.
Yeah. And again, I get how messy would that be for schools and teachers to have kids coming and going all the time and missing days and having to keep up with who was there for that lesson. And I totally get, again, this is the mental load piece for teachers, having to remember that they've got that child that doesn't come Wednesdays and that kid that leaves early Thursdays and that kid that comes late Mondays, and knowing what those children are missing when they're not there, and so many pieces. I just feel like it must be so much for teachers to think about, which is why I guess I feel that so many other parts, letting them go and not worrying so much about them, things about uniform and how kids are engaging and what they're sitting on and whether they're on the mat or not, and whether they're listening in the way that someone might perceive listening to look, and all the things, letting a lot of that go. It's kind of like as a parent choosing your battles. When you've got children or a child that's really struggling and there's lots going on and you feel like you're constantly telling them no, constantly having to correct behaviors, constantly coming down on things. And then you go to a framework of, okay, I'm going to choose two things that really matter. And they're the only things that I'm going to really, they're safety things or they're whatever. And I'm going to only correct or respond to those, and everything else can go. And the difference that makes as a parent to your capacity to function.
Yeah. That's
So
such a great episode, and I
yeah,
hope we have Shane back at some point in future seasons. Watch this space.
absolutely.
Next guest was our beautiful friend Mim.
Wow. What an incredibly powerful sharing Mim gave us. An incredible offering, a heartfelt, connected offering that is something I don't think we get to experience very frequently. People who are able to really share with their heart
Yeah,
and willing to do that publicly.
yeah, it was. Yeah, and when we recorded it, it was just. I think we're just so impacted by the vulnerability of it and the, such a like it was her retelling of her kinder experience and stuff was just so powerful, and it's like you're right there and you can feel it. And I love how Mim has turned that experience that was traumatic for her and her experiences within the school system that were traumatic, and she's turned those around into almost fuel to then
Mm.
lead such a heart-led authentic life.
And it's really left me challenging myself to have more of that within me, to be bolder in my expression of my needs, my experiences, and my vulnerability. I would love to be able to show up places and be exactly who I am in that moment. And it's a completely terrifying concept at times, but something I would love to be able to show my children and just model to the people in my world so that perhaps they can show up in whatever way they are and with as much connection to their self as they can.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we talked about it at the time. Like I found it real parts of it really hard to listen to as a mum, knowing that my daughter's experience was probably quite similar. Yeah, but using Mim's experience of that can be turned around and um, yeah, just finding a way to go within and really find um,
What you
what's
feel in your
important.
heart, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
society has created this concept of like, this is the things you'll do, these are the expectations. And a lot of us have hardened our hearts to be able to survive that,
yeah,
to be able to toe the line, show up in all the places, do all the things. We've put a barricade around our hearts because if we were really feeling all the things we felt, we wouldn't be able to do the things that we're stepping into and doing.
yeah. I don't want my daughter to have a barricade around her heart, you know? And so, yeah, like it's been huge. Mim's episode's been hugely impactful and, yeah, led me to really think deeply about things I was saying yes to that I was actually no to, things that I wasn't doing that I should have been a yes to. When I say should, I felt strongly that I wanted to be a yes to those. And I am deep down a yes, but yeah, um, yeah, beautiful
Yeah.
conversation.
And I think because of the reality that a lot of us have had to build barricades around our hearts to be able to exist in society, it's a drip feed episode because it's one of those ones that needs to just slowly seep in to allow you to feel reconnected to yourself without doing the bit of going, oh, but that's not possible because, and the defensive bits that want to come up because it does sit in your heart. And because society tells us we have to do all these other bits, so we want to defend against it.
Yeah.
In some ways. Not everybody. There are beautiful communities of people who have been able to, and I think this, again, we've talked before about the value of community. It's also about finding the people to be able to show up and do this with. Like, absolutely, there's communities of people where this would not be possible, and they are so far connected to the need to always do it the way that they've always done it, that it's impossible for them to be able to have these conversations and see this. But there are absolutely communities of people that are able to sit in this thinking and have these really raw and powerful and honest conversations and hold each other through the discomfort of that and the unbreaking of cycles and the shifting of things. And so finding those common connections leads you to where you want to be as well.
So true. And yeah, and just making sure the people around you aren't the ones that are holding you in those patterns. And like when you listen to how you're feeling when you're around those people, you know that they're, that they're trying to hold you in something because they can't break free of it themselves. Yeah. And for a long time I've done that to myself, when Mim was talking about that, trying to be the best student that there possibly was for the teacher. Like, that was me, and trying to just be good and be perfect and do whatever anyone needed me to do. But that really trapped me. Yeah. And I didn't realize that there were other people out there that weren't like that, I guess, or that were able to think differently about things. And it was only accessing then those people, finding those people that I just didn't really know that they were out there until I found them and finding,
It's reminding me of something that I've thought about that connects this and Shani's episodes as well. And Shani talked about the fact, and I don't even think we reflected on this, and it was just kind of a thread that was laid, and then it's kind of only grown for me later on, that teachers have been in the institution of teaching their entire lives. They went to school, they went through school, they went from primary school, secondary school, into university, from university into teaching. So nothing outside of the education system, nothing about the education system feels weird to them. They only know the education system. So they often, the things that we might find really challenging, like, oh my gosh, you can only go to the toilet on breaks and you can only eat at set times of the day and you can only do these things. That's how teachers have lived their entire lives. So they have come to a place of, this is just how it is. And that really helped me when I thought about that in terms of teachers' experiences. And that also aligns for me and was probably brought to a greater thinking for me with Mim's experience, which is that when we have moved through a society that has input all these ways we're supposed to do things we're meant to attend at certain ages, different milestones we're supposed to respond to in certain ways, all of the layering that happens as we grow and grow and grow, down to something as instinctive as parenting, we are told how to do it. And there's very little space for what do I really feel and think here. that isn't completely foghorned by the noise of societal shoulds and expectations.
Mm.
And
Mm.
Mim's episode was this beautiful opportunity to just stop and get curious. What is my heart saying?
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
no other judgment on myself around the choices I've made, the things I've done, what I do, all of that, because we're all wherever we are for whatever purpose we need to be. But we can also spend time just getting curious about what does my heart want from me?
Mm.
So yeah, really powerful, powerful episode that I've listened to many times and will continue to listen to.
Yeah, I think that's something I'm just going to go back to time after time. And I think, like you say, it's a drip feed. And I think different things will be impactful at different times of listening to it.
Mm.
And yeah, I know I will go back to that one time and time again and take different parts down the track when we're further down the line and facing different challenges or but yeah, just really want to express again how grateful we are to Mim for doing
Huge
doing
gratitude
that.
to him. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Next, we had Sarah Middleton, the Brilliant Little Gems.
so cool.
And again, a really deep conversation that left me profoundly aware of our children as teachers and again, when we can just connect with them as the little beings that they are and see exactly what they're telling us about what they need without the noise and chaos of societal expectations again,
and
they have
again,
so much to offer.
and it fed into what Min was saying. Like, I think
Yes.
she said exactly, my eldest daughter has been my greatest teacher. My
Mm,
first child is my greatest teacher. And that's the whole thread of Sarah's chat. I
yes.
just, yeah, they've flowed on so nicely and breaking free from, we talked a lot with Sarah about breaking free from expectations and cages, which we just talked about with Mim. Like there's so many little nuggets. Chatting
Yeah.
to Sarah, yeah.
Yeah.
I loved how she flipped the script and interviewed me.
Yep. She was having a go at being a podcaster herself.
Yeah.
Great.
No, it was awesome. That whole chat just left me feeling so positive about the future. I guess when we talk about our kids who have experienced significant school can't or issues with school and things, that can be easy to get stuck. And
Yeah.
and yeah, just knowing the innate gifts that our children are bringing and the autistic joy, the embracing your own neurodivergence, your child's neurodivergence, and just the joy that can come with that and the gifts that come with that. And obviously there are challenges that come with that too. But yeah, there's some wonderful gifts in that.
Yeah. And her movement that we talked about with the whole body listening
Yeah.
petition for schools and the open letter to schools around how whole body listening impacts and causes more harm than good has really taken off. And she's got hundreds of signatures on her petition. I have not checked it recently, but hundreds the last time I looked. The open letter is going out on the 4th of May. And it's really opened a lot of conversations, which has been
Mm,
really incredible and a great credit to herself and her son and their capacity to connect with what feels good for them and a knowingness that it's shared bigger than them.
yeah. And so important to know that what feels good for them is okay, because for such a long time it's been, this doesn't feel good for me or this feels good for me, but that's not kind of normal and what we're supposed to do. So therefore I'm wrong. It's like
Yes.
the empowerment that comes from, this child being able to know, no, it's not me that's the problem. It's just school just doesn't understand it yet. Like
Mm.
that mindset shift of, no, I'm not wrong. It's just I've got to help school understand why, is so powerful.
Yeah. And when children get the opportunity to express what they actually need, and they have somebody in their corner saying, tell me what you need and let's make it happen, the radiance that comes from that, the feeling that someone sees me as really important and what I need is really valuable, and they're going to help me with having that be heard. It's an incredible thing to know you've got someone that's got your back
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
isn't dismissing or questioning. And I think about that as like an adult experience. If I was saying, these are the things that I need to help me function better through my day, and someone was saying, oh, now come on, like, do you really? I don't know if you need that. That feels a little over the top. Oh, we could give you that, but only part of that. Or no, you have to choose between this and this. I would be left feeling really defeated and deflated and wondering why I even bother telling them in the first place.
Mm.
So it's really incredible to think that we might be engaging in more conversations with our kids that allow them to feel empowered and heard and valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was such a cool chat. We'll pop a link to the petition in the comments as well,
Yes.
because that will still be going by the time this airs.
Yes.
Which leads us to our other Sarah, Kundi Bird,
Yeah.
and our beautiful chat about her Kundalini yoga.
Yeah. It was a really interesting conversation about finding the threads that turn into ropes and connecting with coming back again to that piece around what does my heart want and where have all the arrows been pointing that I've been potentially ignoring because of all the things I should be doing.
Mm.
It's interesting doing this recap and realizing the overarching theme.
Yeah, it is really interesting putting them all
Yeah.
together, because we've kind of reflected on them all individually,
Literally.
and
Now that we can see them as a collective, it's like,
yeah,
oh, look what we did.
yeah. No, this was our plan all along.
Oh, yeah, totally our plan.
No, the universe, it feels like the universe has kind of conspired to put them all together and in the right order.
Yeah.
And the order was very much kind of the order that we recorded them. And when we were thinking about the order, it's like, no,
Mm.
yeah, bar one change.
Yeah. And that order
Everything's,
just happened, the order of recording happened about people's availability, not about order of preference of recording. The only
yeah.
one we wanted first was Mike because we knew we could not be perfect. We're never being perfect. We knew that we're going to give ourselves a little more grace with Mike, but
Yeah,
everyone else has just been about availability. And look what's happened.
yeah.
So, and that feels very Kundalini to trust the flow.
Yes, yeah. One thing we didn't talk about in Sarah's reflection was the manifesto. And I know both of us really use this as a tool, although I've not been using it as much lately. But at the start of the year, I was, yeah, very gung-ho with my manifesto. I need to get back on track. But
And the manifesto was the saying, I will not rather than I will. So I will not do particular things that get in my way. My current one is I will not judge myself for not doing my manifesto. I
I
will
love
not
that.
judge myself for the things I do not have energy to continue to do at this point. But what we loved about this, and we spoke about this after we recorded it, but then didn't talk about it in our reflection, was the reason that we both really loved it was because it was a lot about things I will not do rather than things I will do. So it felt less like putting things on your plate. It was less about, I need to go to the gym and go for a walk and look after my self-care. Obviously the things that are on top of my mind is feeling like pressures right now, self-care. But that wasn't, I will. Which is very different because a lot of the time people do that. They try to add on things that they think are going to make their life better or easier or whatever. But when we say I will not, we're actually taking some pressure away. And it can still be life supporting. It can still be about supporting ourselves. One of the things I put on mine was I will not eat past 7:30 because I'm a real nighttime snacker. And then I go to bed feeling really yucky and I can't fall asleep. And so the impact of that is, has multiple layers. So one of the things I did was say I will not eat past 7:30. And that was just really helpful for me to just have like a peace in my mind of this is just something I'm not going to do.
Mm. Yeah.
And I could have done something else, like I will brush my teeth at 7:30, which also would have stopped me from eating after 7:30, but that would have given me a job to do. And I probably would have let that slide a lot faster.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm, a person that as soon as a rule is made for me or I'm tell myself I'm doing something and I have to do it, I instantly want to rebel against it. So the manifesto was actually really worked really well for me. So for January, I had a month of no unnecessary spending, no Uber Eats or food delivery, and wasn't allowed to shop for anything that wasn't like groceries or necessary things. And it was great. And I really embraced it, which is odd for me because normally, I want to just be like, no, I'm shutting this down. Who am I to tell myself what I can't do? But I saved a good amount of money in January by getting off the Kmart website, and I don't need this. I have plenty of other craft supplies. I don't need that particular tool right now. Yeah, it was good. It just made me focus on what my goals were, and my goal was to not waste so much money on rubbish. So that's not important, but financial security is probably more important. So being able to just focus on that and have something, that's a bit of a no, I will not unnecessarily spend is a bit of a mantra, like a mantra that I can just remind myself. And it worked well. So the manifesto will have to come back out, and I'm thinking monthly might be too much for me. I'm wondering if maybe every 3 months I'll update it or something quarterly. Yeah.
Yeah, you could even do it 6 monthly. I don't think there's a rule about whatever suits you. And and you will not judge yourself about whether you are or aren't doing the things that you intended to do. It's a nice global one for when you're dipping out of it because, it's so easy to judge ourselves for, I'm supposed to be doing that thing. That thing would help me. That, da, 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 da. And that's not the intention of what Sarah was saying at all. It was around finding ways to support yourself and feel like you're supporting yourself and offering yourself something.
And especially when you have a busy brain and can get led by shiny over here and then over here, and just something to ground you back into your long term, as someone, we both, Sarah and I, very much relate to that. Getting distracted and a new opportunity pops up or something and you want to then be over there. And sometimes it can move you away from what your long-term picture
Yeah.
is, and this just grounds you back. So, yeah, really, I'm going to keep that one going, and great tool. She's got a resource on her Instagram page actually, which shows how she creates her manifesto and has it as a widget on her phone, and
Yeah.
so we can link that as well.
Yeah. And it's really helpful to have easy ways to be able to do stuff.
Yeah.
And we linked the manifesto with Sarah around then the kind of friction that occurs when we're deep in the learning of something and our need to kind of jump out and follow something else, because that friction starts to feel really uncomfortable when we're right about to actually integrate something and bring it into part of our core knowing and being is when it feels the hardest. And we want to just kind of jump ship then and go, duh, no, that's uncomfortable. Let's go and do something else. And it's really interesting. I've been having this experience of that lately, because what I find is that as I'm starting to really shift into a next stage of something, a lot of evidence or arguments come up around how I'm actually not good at that, not good enough, not worthy enough, not. And it's this offering of now you get to work through the tension and the challenge of that to really get to step into it in your full being. But it's really hard because it's really easy in that moment to just go, oh, nah, see, everyone thinks I'm shit. I'll just stop. And to come back to this knowing of this is what I want to focus on, this is where I want to be, this is important to me, and this feels really good to my core is really tricky. It's so easy to get pulled away.
Yeah.
Particularly in our busy worlds, things keep popping up.
I think having other people in there with you too, like I just, when you're talking about that, I think about this podcast, and that there's no way I would have stuck with it had it just been me on my own, and I wouldn't have started it to begin with. So having other people, in there on the journey to pull you back in, and then you can pull them in. And there's been multiple times that I have kind of like, I feel like I'm pretty shit at this. Like, find someone else, or let's not keep going. And do I really want to do this? And and I never mean it in the time, but it would be so easy if you're on your own just to then stop putting in the effort and wander off into a different direction. And so I think too, having other people to help pull you back in, rather than focusing on people to pull you away.
Because sometimes we look at people and we think, oh my gosh, they're just over there on their own doing that thing, like growing that business, like managing that social media platform, doing that massive undertaking. And we look at them as one individual and think, gosh, they can do that on their own, and I can't do that over here on my own. Or I've got some people that could support me and I still can't do it. And the reality is that very rarely are we doing anything in isolation. As human beings, we need connection. Our nervous systems need connection. And those people that look like they're doing it on their own are usually doing it with people around them that are invisible, that we can't see. And it's really important to know that, and to not let ourselves get caught in the, well, they can, but I can't, so I'm shit and they're great piece. And know that we're all building our connections in the way we can, and we're all on our own journeys.
Yeah, I just think about the last few months, which have been so huge and very life-altering, and so many big conversations have been had in our family about the direction that our life's going to kind of take for the next little bit, and are we going to make some really significant changes? Yeah, I've made some changes with my work, and I've got an army of people behind me, and that's the only way I've survived that. And some are through friendships, some are paid supports. And I can so clearly see when I get lost and I'm just lost at sea. And to use your life raft analogy, like, I've got some people that some of them I pay just to throw me a life raft and bring me back in. And so pivotal. Yeah.
Absolutely. Even when we're out in the ocean, bobbing up and down, and we feel like we're completely alone, there will always be someone to throw us a life raft.
Yeah.
We just can't always see them because we're so stuck in our own drowning.
Yeah.
Our own struggle and our own thrashing.
Yeah. But having people too when you're not drowning, like when the sea's calm and and just having them along to encourage you and to
now I just got this beautiful image, because before my image was like, obviously the ocean was crazy and there was big waves and I was like flapping up and down, barely staying above the water. And then when you just said that, I imagined like a bay, that the sea is calm and there's a whole bunch of people all on flotation devices just together, just floating around, like maybe with some drinks, maybe with some music, or just the sounds of the ocean and the birds and the trees. And they're there then too. And then, some waves might come and we might ride some small bumps together, and then it'll all just shift and change.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I like
There I went with another metaphor.
I love your metaphors, and I very much would like to leave this with a picture of calm waters and bays and cocktails, because we are taking a break.
Yes, and you may be doing some of that, calm waters and cocktails.
Let's hope. Certainly the cocktails, hopefully the calm waters. And we'll be taking a break for a little while before we then come back with season 2 in May.
Awesome. Very excited. We've already got some recordings done and we're going to take you on another journey. It's going to be another ride and we're so excited. Thank you, Emily. It has been an absolute honor to step alongside you in this incredible learning curve. And I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. I'm so grateful to you.
No, I feel the same way with you. I think all our listeners are so blessed to not only get to listen to your metaphors, but you just have so much wisdom. And really grateful to be on this with you. And that we're on this journey together and hopefully bringing some wonderful conversations to our listeners that help make things in their life just that little bit better.
Yeah. And as always, we love your feedback. And if you would like to be a guest on our podcast, please reach out. We're always looking for new people to have great conversations with. We'll see you all soon.
For more information on today's conversation and guest, head to the links provided in the description. Please like and subscribe to keep up to date with more content, and it helps us out with the algorithm too. Beyond the Neurotype is not a licensed medical or mental health service, and any information or advice given is general in nature. Please seek professional help if anything mentioned in today's episode has raised questions or concerns.